So, why did my mother tell the cops that he was a good boy and that Huey didn't deserve to go to jail, but then he ended up going anyway? I'm crying as my mother's hands are around Huey's neck. They are literally doing this in the church parking lot. Huey didn't even lay a hand on her other than to get her hands off of his neck. Naturally, the off duty cop drives around in his Honda Civic and is like, "Hey, what's going on?" And I'm hysterical. My mother is looking normal now. And like I've told everybody in my life, it's like a switch. It's like the switch flips and it's like a whole different person, and then it flips back and it's like nothing even happened. My husband is livid, he's irate, and the off-duty cop tells us that Irondale PD is coming up there. Irondale PD gets there, puts cuffs on Huey, puts him in a car, doesn't take his statement, doesn't take my statement, but does take my mother's statement. Even though I'm telling them this is what happened, they literally don't listen to me. Like I apparently did not exist, even though I was literally there and I was a witness. They treat him like he's the one that put hands on her and he didn't. And my mother even told the other officers that he was a good boy, which is wild, by the way. But they run his name and they find out that he had a traffic ticket that he didn't pay in Mountain Brook, and that he needed to be picked up by Mountain Brook to get that settled. No cop came up to me to ask me what happened at all. The prayer team is out there supporting me. Maji shows up to support me because I'm upset. I have to call his parents and explain what the frick just happened because they need to meet me up there so that we can take care of his ticket mess. That was the moment where Huey said, "We're done. I don't ever want to see her again, and she's never going to be around my children." And I respected it and I understood, because it was one thing for her to do that to me. It was one thing for her to just and 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 do things to me, but to watch it happen to the love of my life, I was so distraught. And I was about to give birth 2 months later. After all of that happened in 2016, and our son was born. In 2017, I found out from friends of my mother that she was going around saying that he put hands on her, he's abusive, he's this, he's that. And she went to the hospital and all of these things. And because the cops did not take our side of the story at all, and we remembered that, we did go down to Irondale PD. We did tell them our side of the story. And just remember that for later, because Irondale PD was so incompetent throughout all of this. I kept my distance from her and lived my life. And eventually, me and Huey got married. And as soon as she found out, she was like, "Get an annulment. You need to come home. And you have two children, and nobody's going to want to help you if you're married or if you're together. It's better for you to come home and be a single parent." At that point, I had no more hope. I was done trying. I was like, "You're sick. Something is wrong with you to keep lying on people like this." And I was still randomly going to visit my great grandfather when I could, but it was less frequent because she was always home. I was able to have one nice long conversation with my great grandfather in 2018, and I actually recorded it, and I'm really glad I did, because in it, we talked about my life and I updated him about everything, and he sounded so proud of me. And in the conversation, I asked him how did he navigate handling his daughter, which is my grandmother, through her mental episodes. And he said eventually he let her go. I wasn't ready to let her go, but I heard him say it and I said, "Wow, I gotta let my mother go." And my great grandfather told me something I had never heard before and known, that his mom had issues, and then his daughter had issues, and then his grandchildren had issues. And that my mother, while she took good care of him, the house, it's a hoarder's house. And she was clearly not well, and he did witness what she did to me. Even pulled her off of me a couple of times. He understood why there was more distance between us, and he still loved me and cared for me deeply and was happy that I was at least happy and had two children and a husband. And I had hoped that eventually he would get to meet Huey and my son. That conversation was in 2018, and I tried to visit him. It was very sporadic, but by 2020, the home was, in my opinion, not livable. And I ended up calling the police in 2020, and it led to a welfare check, which led to a DHR case, which led to DHR basically saying that, well, there's running water and your great grandfather's room is clean and his bathroom is clean. So I did try to visit him one last time, and I even asked him if he wanted to come see where I lived and meet my husband and my son, and he said yes. And the neighbor had called my mother because she wasn't there. That's when I would visit. And she came, and she came with the cops, and my great grandfather was of sound mind, but because she was power of attorney and his caregiver, the cops was like, well, she has the ability to tell him no. My mother put a trespass on me. I could not come back on that property. And she told me that day that if I didn't have a relationship with her, I couldn't have one with him. I blocked her for 4 years until I ran into my old pastor from my home church when I was a kid and his wife, and they told me that my mom was sick.